Hello, my name is Nia English. I'm here today to present my e-learning project for Sopan Sumba in Nusa Tenggara, Indonesia. The intended audience for this presentation is the Ford Foundation in Jakarta, Indonesia, for the purpose of grant funding seeking for Sopan Sumba. So Sopan Sumba is a non-profit in Nusa Tenggara that works to achieve an inclusive society where equal rights is guaranteed for women, girls, and other marginalized groups. And the other goal is to achieve gender equality as stated in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals number 4. Sopan Sumba has two missions that directly connected to this e-learning program. The first one is to eradicate gender-based violence that is still taking place in the area, such as bride kidnapping. So to eradicate this gender-based violence, we plan to do an e-learning program for gender literacy. And for gender empowerment, we are going to do English classes. For now, we are going to focus on English conversational. And of course, hopefully, with the appropriate funding, we can expand the program. Why e-learning? The consideration to choose e-learning is also is because e-learning is flexible. It is flexible in time, in distance, and it is also flexible in terms of learning pace for the learners. And the second reason is that it reaches diverse socioeconomic and cultural background of the learners. The third, I would argue, is it's cost effective, especially at the current situation where technology affordance is one of the issue that we try to mitigate. So that's why we choose e-learning. And of course on the side, because this is also volunteer-based kind of project, many of the volunteers like myself reside abroad. So e-learning not only offer the flexibility, the three benefits that I previously mentioned, it is also work because many of the volunteers, they live abroad. And the planned learning activity for this e-learning project comprise of, within a year we do it 10 months, July and December we set for break, and it will be conducted the second and the fourth week of the month on the Saturday, 9:30 a.m. local time, and the class will be an hour, comprised of the first 30 minutes of learning the materials, and the second 30 minutes is about either discussions or assessment. And for the topics, for now we're aiming for practical English conversation, and then for gender literacy we're focusing on a different discussion pertaining to gender empowerment, anything gender related topics. For this e-learning project, the technology that we have in mind, the first one is Zoom. The reason we chose Zoom is because it is highly used in Indonesia, and Zoom is used for our synchronous meetings, the twice a month on Saturdays 9:30 a.m. local time. And for visualization, we have idea about doing videos or using resources that's available on YouTube, and for other materials, visualization, we have in mind using Canva, PictoChart, mainly to PDF materials that learners can access asynchronously. Furthermore, we have in mind also using, Microsoft Form, Google Form, to create surveys, polls, which is, helpful for the assessment purposes, rubrics as well, and lastly, and the significant one as well is WhatsApp, because mobile devices is something that generally most Indonesian have, although they don't have desktop computer, but they usually have smartphones. So WhatsApp is heavily used in Indonesia, so we're going to use that for learner to learner interaction, learner to instructor interactions, and it is also used to content delivery, content sharing, especially the ones in the PDF. We can share also through WhatsApp, and then we're going to create WhatsApp group that contains all the learners and instructors, so the communications and interaction is available at the tip of the fingers 24/7. Of course, with the time difference, there probably a delay in responding, but all of that will be explained at the beginning, before the class starts. And then the theory. For the theory, I would argue to implement a combination of behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructivism. Behaviorism is, where the learning focus on the change of behavior of the learners, influenced by external stimuli in the environment. Whereas cognitivism and constructivism both focus on the learners, but constructivism differentiated that with humans' consciousness, free will, and social interaction. The way I combine behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructivism is that I use behaviorism more for class management, where the roles of the instructor is to control the environment so that the change of behavior that is intended can happen. And I incorporate cognitivism because humans have brains, cognitive skill and capacity. We have to take into consideration how much and how long we can present our materials for an effective acquisition of the information. So I incorporate cognitivism for that purpose, and also the visualizations of the materials. As for constructivism, I highly agree with the point where humans have human agency. This human agency is significantly important because when we have this sense of agency, we can do things, and including in constructing knowledge that we receive through social interaction, we can make certain things happen, as we've seen throughout history, whether it's women empowerment related and so on. So I'm hoping that through constructivism we can do a lot of discussions about the topic that is so complex in Sumba society, like bride kidnapping, why girls are considered second-class citizens, all that topics that we can discuss, which each one of them can relate because they live in the same culture, same upbringing. So that's how I combine the theory of learnings and how it's its implication in the learning process. I would also incorporate assessment, because assessment is important to see from the starting point to the end, and the whole process, how it is, whether the learning and the materials are acceptable, attractive, or not at all, and whether the learners have any questions, what they have in mind about the topic, and all those inputs ideally are constructive to make available any revisions, any additional any ideas, and what to do and what not to do in the next steps moving forward. And the assessment that I would see to happen is, because this is a more of a personal development through English language and gender literacy, so I don't really see much of summative assessment like in public school system. However, I would definitely go with formative one, that maybe once a month classes we assess as we go, we give feedback on the quizzes that we provide to them, on the discussions that we have of any group project. So I would see more of formative assessment than summative. Probably eventually at some point, summative will be done. If we write any paper at the end of the day, or even a portfolio, it will get there, hopefully. But make it as part of the plan. But I think for now the focus would be more on the formative assessment. We're also going to use 1-minute paper in lesson polls. We provide the rubrics for English writing, and a grade tracker, and we will provide survey survey prior the class starts, survey after the class or in between, maybe every trimester, and that sort of thing. So that is my presentation about my e-learning for Sopan Sumba. I hope that I get more input to better my proposal to Ford Foundation. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.